In the heart of Lagos, behind tall iron gates and palm-lined driveways, sat the Okonkwo estate, a mansion so grand it was whispered about more than it was seen. It belonged to Chief Damian Okonkwo, one of the most powerful men in West Africa. Oil, real estate, politics. His reach stretched beyond borders. But inside that fortress of glass and marble, power had a different weight, heavy, constant, watching. His son, ZIK'S Okonkwo, Zik, as he insisted on being called, was everything Damian wasn't. Reckless, loud, untamed. He was the kind of boy who crashed his sports car into the gates of a nightclub just to make a point, or leaked his father's business deals to spite him. At 27, he had more headlines than investments, more enemies than allies. Zik was a storm that didn't know it was raining. And then there was Amara. She entered the mansion quietly, with a duffel bag and a shy, "Good morning, Ma," to the head housekeeper. Her CV was forged, her name was real, but only half of it. To the world inside the Okonkwo estate, she was just another housemaid, quiet, polite, efficient. But in reality, Amara Ikenna was the last living child of Chief Tobena Ikenna, the man who once rivaled Chief Okonkwo before he disappeared in a fire that never made sense. A fire Amara had survived, though no one was meant to know that. She had grown up in hiding, passed from cousin to cousin, until she was old enough to question her past, and bold enough to uncover it. She wasn't here to clean floors. She was here to unearth the truth, and maybe burn the empire from within. But she didn't plan on Zik. Their first encounter was a mess, literally. Zik was arguing on the phone, pacing when he crashed straight into her in the hallway, spilling his espresso all over her neatly pressed uniform. "What the hell?" he started, then paused. She didn't flinch. She simply looked up at him, dark brown eyes calm, expression unreadable. "You should watch where you're going," she said softly. Zik blinked. No one spoke to him like that. Not in this house, not in this country. He liked it. He hated that he liked it. That moment stuck with him longer than it should have. He watched her from the balcony days later. Amara, mopping the marble floors of the East Wing like it was holy ground. She moved with a kind of grace that betrayed her uniform. There was elegance in the way she folded linen, precision in how she arranged his late mother's vases. She wasn't like the others. Zik's curiosity deepened when he asked the head housekeeper where Amara came from. "She's from Enugu," the woman said without looking up from her ledger. "Hired 2 weeks ago. Clean record, quiet girl." Clean record. Too clean. Zik had grown up surrounded by liars. He could smell a secret the way his father smelled weakness. But instead of investigating her, he did something far more dangerous. He started talking to her. "I bet you hate working here," he said one morning, leaning against the counter while she scrubbed a pan in the vast stainless steel kitchen. "I don't hate it," Amara replied. "I just have other plans." "Oh," Zik grinned. "Planning to marry a billionaire and escape all this?" She looked up at him with a slight smirk. "I'm not into spoiled men." He burst out laughing. The housemaids nearby froze. No one ever joked with Zik like that. But Amara had already gone back to washing the pan. Zik didn't realize it then, but that was the beginning of something he couldn't undo. By the 3rd week, they were talking every night in the garden, quietly, where the security lights didn't reach. Amara asked him questions no one dared ask. What would you do if you weren't your father's son? Why do you act like you want to burn everything down? Do you even like who you've become? Zik gave her answers he didn't know he had, because for the first time in years, he wasn't being watched, judged, or compared. He was just a man, and she was just a girl. Or so he thought. Amara wasn't meant to fall for him. She'd rehearsed that part over and over. Stay distant, be invisible, ask questions, collect evidence, find the safe. Her uncle had warned her. These people destroyed your father. Don't let a pretty face fool you. But Zeke wasn't just a pretty face. He was broken in ways that mirrored her own. Trapped in the shadow of a powerful man. Raised in a house where love was performance. They were two different storms caught in the same hurricane. And still, she resisted. Until the night he touched her hand, just briefly, as he passed her a glass of water. Electricity. Not the kind in fairy tales. The kind that terrified you because it felt like betrayal. That night, she cried in her room for the first time in years because she knew what had to be done. The house held secrets like a tomb. In the west wing, behind a locked office door, was a filing cabinet no one ever touched. And in that cabinet, she was told, were the original documents, the land fraud, the stolen patents, the bribe logs, the police reports that were lost, the file that could destroy Chief Damian Okonkwo. She waited for weeks for her chance. Then, on the night of the annual Okonkwo Foundation Gala, it came. The house emptied, staff scattered, security focused on the ballroom. Zik had asked her to meet him in the garden at midnight. She never showed. Instead, Amara slipped into the West Wing with a stolen keycard. The office was colder than she expected. Everything was black and chrome, like his power had infected even the furniture. She searched quickly, behind shelves, beneath rugs, until her fingers found the latch under the desk. The cabinet creaked open. There it was, a red folder marked Ikena Tobena, Property Settlement. She opened it, and what she saw made her knees buckle. Not just property theft, not just bribes. There were surveillance reports, photos of her, as a child, notes in the margins. Surviving daughter not confirmed dead. Last seen in Nsuka with schoolteacher aunt. Do not pursue without direct clearance. They had known she was alive. She ran that night, but not far, because Zik was waiting at the garden gate, and he wasn't smiling. Zik's eyes searched hers, confused and sharp at once. "You didn't come," he said. His voice wasn't angry. It was wounded. "I waited." Amara clutched the red folder to her chest. She couldn't speak. Her mouth felt dry, her throat locked. "What are you doing out here with that?" he asked, nodding toward the file. She looked down. "I shouldn't be here." He stepped closer. "You're not just a maid, are you?" Silence. The garden buzzed with insects. The mansion behind them glowed with warm lights and laughter. But out here, there was only stillness, and between them truth, coiled like a viper. She took a breath. "My name is Amara Ikena." Zik froze. "I'm the daughter of Chief Tobena Ikena, the man your father ruined, the man who was supposed to be dead, but they made sure he disappeared because he wouldn't sell his land." Zik's face was blank, then pale. "You came here to expose him." "I came to learn the truth," she said, softer now. "I didn't plan on you." Zik turned away, running his hands through his curls. "You think my father tells me anything? You think I'm part of this?" "No," she said. "I think you hate him too, but that doesn't make you innocent." He turned back. His voice shook. "Did any of it mean anything to you? The late-night talks? The stories? The way you looked at me?" Amara's heart cracked like dry earth. "Yes," she whispered. That's the problem. She expected him to shout, to expose her, maybe even drag her to his father. But Zik didn't say a word. He just walked away. And the next morning she was gone. She left the estate without a word. The head housekeeper assumed she'd been fired quietly like so many others, but Amara didn't care about gossip. She boarded a bus back to the east, folder in hand, eyes staring out the window as Lagos blurred behind her. She had what she came for. She had proof, and yet she had never felt so empty. Back at the Okonkwo estate, the silence that followed Amara's departure didn't last long. 2 days later, ZIK was summoned. His father sat behind the glass desk in his private office, the one Amara had broken into. The file, now on the table between them, glowed under the light like a loaded gun. Damian Okonkwo didn't raise his voice. He never needed to. "I should have known," he said slowly. "The girl had something in her eyes, a mission. I could see it." ZIK stood rigid. "You knew she was alive, since she was a child. You kept notes. You watched her." Damian gave a small, cruel smile. "A mistake, in hindsight. I was waiting for her to do something reckless. Like her father. You destroyed their family." "Number." "Her father destroyed himself," Damian said. "He stood in my way. That land deal was national interest. Oil, Zikora. Your inheritance. Your future. One man's sentiment couldn't block the whole river." ZIK'S hands balled into fists. "Then maybe I don't want any of this future." Damian leaned forward. "You think you love her? That house girl? That little spy who used you?" ZIK'S jaw clenched. "I'd rather be loved by her than feared like you." That was the first time he ever saw fear in his father's eyes, not because of Amara, but because ZIK, his only heir, was slipping away. Meanwhile, Amara sat in a compound in Enugu, across from a dusty lawyer with shaking hands. He looked at the documents she had brought. "You do realize," he said cautiously, "that releasing this could implicate your father's killer, but it could also start a war." Amara nodded. "Then we start one." But before the file could be leaked, a black SUV pulled up outside the compound. 3 men stepped out in suits, eyes shielded by dark glasses. One handed her a phone. She answered. It was ZIK. His voice was quiet. "I know what you found, and I know where the rest of it is." Amara's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "There's another file. My mother's file. The one with her psychiatric report before she died. She knew what my father did to yours." "And you'll help me get it?" A pause. "I'm not doing this for your revenge," ZIK said. "I'm doing it to find out if I've been living a lie too." So will Amara trust ZIK? What lies in his mother's secret file? And who will pay the price when the Okonkwo dynasty falls? Stay tuned for part 2, where loyalties, shatter and fire finally meets fire.